Hello everyone, I'm Bra Mithra. It is the timeline update. The new pitched timeline giving us information all about what's expected to come this year. So here we have Remastered Wave 1, Let's Get Angry. Remastered Wave 1, estimated fulfillment mid-July 2025. Screaming God expansion delayed. Philosophy of Death, Gatherism added to Remastered Wave 1. This is not really a surprise to me, at least. I think I've mentioned that I didn't know if Screaming God... I really wanted Screaming God to be coming. I know a while back, I think it was in the January... No, not January. Like September or October... I didn't know if it would be coming. That was the last one that they were working on. All the other ones were in production, and then before Black Friday, they were still saying that Parasite Queen needed more work, or Parasite Queen was still being tested and finalized. So, and then Gatherism, talked about that in the year in review. Gatherism, we knew that was coming. Poots had mentioned it would probably get pulled up, and then the year in review videos. Aluminum and I mentioned that the plastic miniatures were shown a couple months, almost a year. No, it's like in August, maybe it was June. It's almost a year ago. They were shown the sprues, the plastic miniatures for Gatherism were on sprues for one of the parts of these waves. So, Screaming God, I think. So we knew Gatherism was getting pushed up. So, here's what it says. It says Remastered Wave 1, Red Witches expansions, Pariah expansion, Wanderer Amy, Aeneas, Hyperlot Drifter, Candy and Cola, Gatherism, and then it says Percival here. I don't know what that means or if it's even part of this wave. I think it's part of this wave. Taste has said that they found a production slot for it, so getting moved up. I don't know if it's a new Percival. I don't know if it's the old white box Percival. Either way, Percival's a great mini. I don't think the sculpt will get redone, so it's probably just the old white box Percival. There was no mention of a sculpt getting resculpted for her. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. That'd be great to see if it is. But even the white box, those players who bought the Percival Lantern will get their Percival. And as far the white boxes too, it's great to even be able to get a chance for her. Maybe she'll have some synergy content. Maybe she'll be new. That'd be great if she's a new version. But I don't even know if it's coming in this wave. You'll see later in the thing it's listed as part of the next wave. So we'll see. TLDR, list of things to be outraged about. Tariffs and who's going to pay them. Screaming God delayed. All projects pushed back on the estimated timeline. That was all projects pushed back from a year ago's timeline. So just remember that. All projects pushed back on the estimated timeline in comparison to the one where it was a year ago, where everything got pushed back a year ago prior to 2 years ago. So we just have a new timeline. Kingdom Death. Game dev speed is too slow. Poots thinks it's perfect. Permission granted to rage at me if this takes longer than 10 years. I'm assuming he means 10 years from now. From this updates. So if it takes him to 2035, then we have permission to rage, because it's 10 years from the Kickstarter starting is Black Friday 2016. We know that won't make. We already know it's going to be 10 years since the Kickstarter started. So core game reprint, but most likely not in time for Gen Con. That's a bummer. I really did wish they would have core game stock in Gen Con. Maybe they'll find some in the lockers the storage they keep for Gen Con, but I'm pretty sure they always sell out of what they do, their core games at Gen Con. I don't think they're holding any back, but that's a bummer for them. I wish they do really well at Gen Con. I wish they would have had stock for Gen Con. It is a core 1.6 reprint. That is what it says here. Not right here, but we'll talk about it in this update. Again, I've already read this update. That's why it's taken me a long time to get this out. There's a lot here. A lot of fun stuff. We're going to get into fun stuff. It just starts with this stuff that's not so fun. We're going to get to it. Welcome one and all to the official Let's Get Angry update. Here in the United States, we now have tariffs on incoming goods from China. So we are facing down a 25% increase on the cost of Kingdom Death expansions, pretty much everything for this Kickstarter. Again, that's going to be U.S. only. And then not everybody's from the U.S. Not everybody's going to, so I don't know if they import. I don't know if they're importing to the U.S. and then putting them out to their other distributors, but this shouldn't affect everybody, I would hope. There is no time to change factories for the shipping wave, and thus no way out of it. There's even a chance that borders decide that the value of the goods are higher than the wave bill, and we get hit even harder. Honestly, this is the wait and see situation. If possible, to shoulder 50% of the cost for everybody. Tariffs suck, and this explanation is not super great about what's actually going to happen. It just seems like it's going to be a blanket across the board, so that sucks. Another thing to get angry about, delaying Screaming God expansion. It's not ready yet. Parasite Queen, which has turned out amazing, by the way. I'm assuming they mean the model. Had some extra back and forth in both its plastic production and the final boss fight. Had to formally remove it from the wave so as not to hold up everything else that is finished. Game dev speed continues to be much slower than what members of our community feel it should be. Yes, Poots acknowledges that. What was supposed to be a 5-year project has doubled in time and is looking like a even his own timeline goes into 2017, which is when the Kickstarter ended. So, even by this timeline, if it is correct, it's a 10-year thing. 10-year project. Regardless, I am extremely proud of what we have created so far, and I remain steadfast, excited about everything we are working on now. Kingdom Death takes time and the dedication of a lot of talented people for as creating what I feel is the best, quote unquote, tabletop experience on planet has to offer. Development speed is perfect. I love our game, still slaps, and is insanely fun to play. Simple truth is, no one else would make this game. We have carved out our own difficult and challenging to follow path, fueled by enthusiasm and a need to always make the end quality of our product just a little bit better than the last one. The simple truth is, if by 2027 we've still not finished this Kickstarter, I give you full permission to outrage if you want. I'll drum up some appropriate t-shirts to distribute, allow for official no comment moderation venting day, stream myself in a dunk tank, and let community members pitch balls in honor of other community members. As funny as that would be. Lastly, we have 1.6 core game reprint. So this is what I was talking about. It's just going to be another 1.6 core game reprint. This is what I had predicted. I know I just put out a video talking about 2.0 and how 2.0 is probably coming. I still believe 2.0 is coming. It's been teased by Poots a couple times. I think we will get a new edition of the game, whether or not it's called 2.0 or whatever. I think it will come. I think it's inevitable. I have now changed my title of that video to that. It is inevitable that we will get a new edition of the core game. It's just a matter of when and how it will get to everyone else. But its 1.6 core game reprint will be rolling out. It's not looking like it will be in time for Gen Con, which means we will be showing up to a trade show meant to introduce new fans to the world of Kingdom Death with no core games aside from the 10-ish games that we're holding on to events and replacements. So it is what it is. That's a shame for a company. I really did wish they would have products to sell. They do have the Sim. So the Sim table was great last year. You can always onboard players with the Sim. You can even take pre-orders. I'm sure that's what they'll be doing at Gen Con. Remastered Wave 1. Remastered Wave 1 production is scheduled to be finished mid-May 2025. Delivery should be happening around mid-July 25. So it looks like fulfillment right before Gen Con again. Probably after Gen Con. If it's not going to finish, or if they will be delivered in like July 2025, maybe we'll get there. I think probably August is when everyone should expect it. That's what I've been saying for the past month as well. 2-3 months. I never expected this wave to show up before Gen Con. Screaming God expansion delayed and will be available for shipping separately. It will go out before the next shipping wave, but if you'd like for it to ship out with a full shipping wave, you can also wait and have it combined via Dark Treasury with your pledge rewards for Remastered Wave 2. Dark Treasury is not online, so, you know, I hope that goes up. If you're going to, I mean, you're now promising that that's a thing. I hope it goes up. Happily hold in my hands mass production samples of Red Witches, Wanderer Goth, Wanderer Aeneas, Wanderer Death Driver, Candy and Cola, Philosophies of Death Gatherism. We're moving Philosophies of Death Gatherism up from Remastered Wave 2 to Remastered Wave 1. Surprise. Again, we kind of knew it. Was hinted at before. We're going to talk about some of this stuff. I'm going to pull some of these images. But as you can see here, Red Witches is super interesting to talk about. You can see there's 3 separate boxes here. So you can see there's box 1 is what's open here for Brawl. As we kind of covered when we did the year in review, it kind of looked like it was going to be a 3 tableau fight. I think that is super busy. Hopefully it's not super busy. But these cases are really cool. I'm glad the tableaus are really easy to do and their decks are all separated out and everything. So that's really cool. It looks like there'll be level 1 with just Brawl, level 2 with Brawl and Nico, and then level 3 Brawl, Nico, and Seer. That would be interesting if that is how exactly it goes. It's looking a lot more like it after seeing these images. Here's some more images you can see. Red Cannon. There's the image of Sword Hunter, which is in the front of the book, meaning it might not be a story event. Well, I mean, it's obviously not a story event here, but it might not be, the same art might not appear again later in the book, meaning this might not be a story event. That's just a bonus artwork that they show someone stealing the sword, the Sword of Silence and Fade there. With Koshka, I'm assuming, and then Sword Hunter in the background from the art we saw. Maybe it will still be a story event. Doesn't look like it is. Here is interesting. This shows node 2 for the Nemesis node 2 here. And it looks like there's going to be rules. We're going to talk about that because there are some rules. We're going to talk about that later. Here's more Red Witches stuff. As you can see, same exact image again with the Red Cannon. Again, looks like the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or level 1, level 2, level 3 will be the 1 Red Witch, 2 Red Witch, 3 Red Witch. So here's Death Drifter. So let's pull up exactly what Death Drifter is here. You can see here, this is really cool. So in this art here, it looks like Death Drifter speaks a different language because the title of this is all really weird. It's out of focus, but it looks like they probably can't speak to the Death Drifter. It speaks a different language. And that looks like that's what it is at the top with that weird font, whatever it is. And then the rolling here, you just kind of roll. He must be hyper focused on what he's doing. So the roll is more describing what the survivors do, trying to pull him away from this, I guess. You can see here, the Wanderers have their own card or their own record sheet. You can see them; they come with record sheets folded up there. Their own survivor record sheet, probably with disposition on it. I can guarantee it has disposition on it. Makes you wonder why Luck didn't come with that, but that's okay. A lot of gear looks the same way like Luck had gear. Maybe these ones will have whole entire grids. We'll get into that when we look at the other Wanderers. They have tons of gear as well. Interesting here, you can see it's Fighting Art Death Drifter for Chain Dash, and then there's also a Knowledge. So they're compatible. They have things for if you use the Wanderer with a regular survivor, or with the regular survivors, you will get Fighting Arts, and if you use Wanderers with Arc survivors, you'll get Knowledges. Because this one you can't see, but we'll see later, they're the same name. The Fighting Arts named Adrenaline for Goth Amy, and the Knowledge is named Adrenaline for Goth Amy. So they're not to be used at the same time, they're interchangeable. The Wanderers themselves probably use the Knowledge just like Luck did, since they're still going to be advancing their philosophy, technically. Their story is a philosophy book, technically. The interesting thing here is these Fighting Arts don't have the exclude symbol on them. So, like, Chain Dash here is just a regular Fighting Art. It's not a Secret Fighting Art. You can see it says Fighting Art, Death Drifter is what it says there. And that means it just goes into your Fighting Art deck from the get-go. So you can get that, just from the deck being dealt out randomly, or you choose it with romanticism or something. So hopefully they're all like that. All 4 of them are like that. I've looked. Well, I don't know if 3 of them, I think, or they're all 4 probably like that, but none of them have the exclude thing on their fighting arts. So means it's gonna just go into the deck and you're gonna get it at random whether or not you interact with the Wanderer or not, unless there's some rules in the book that says don't do that, only add it once you earn it. But then you really should put the exclude symbol on it, because that's literally what the exclude symbol does. It is that rule. Don't put it in until you've earned it. So interesting if that is the case. Otherwise, these fighting arts are just going to go in your deck, and whether or not you interact with the Wanderer or do it, you will be gaining the fighting art, which is kind of cool. Next, let's go back to the next one. So next we have Wanderer Goth here. So let's go Goth Amy, which has disintegration is the name of her philosophy, kind of. Here's the one you can see. You can see it here. It says adrenaline in fighting art Amy. Not adrenaline. You can see the knowledge is adrenaline 1. So it's going to work the same like Luck. Luck didn't have fighting arts. So that's a shame. He only had knowledges. Maybe he'll get a fighting art in COD or something to make him be better with regular survivors. But I'm really glad that these other Wanderers have fighting arts in them. So you can see that's her fighting art. You can see it's exactly the same name as Adrenaline 1. Regardless, if you have something that says a survivor with adrenaline, it doesn't matter what level it is, or if you have a fighting art, adrenaline just is the knowledge or that, because it works the same way on the seed pattern. For Black Knight, where it says a survivor with tumble, there's a tumble knowledge and there's a tumble fighting art, interchangeable. This I'm assuming exactly the same. It's probably story events where, like, if you have adrenaline of some kind, you can help her grow her disposition or harm her disposition. Let's talk about Amy here. You can kind of read it. I can't really read it, but what it looks to say here is when you depart, you set your armor points to 2 hit locations to 2 or something. I can't read this whole thing. And then when you are a returning survivor, do something, suffer 1 population in the settlement. So who knows what this is, but it's really weird. Can't really read the whole thing. Her tenant, so she does, you can see her tenant is adrenaline. How that will work with fighting arts, I don't know. Maybe she just adds it to the deck, or she just gains it when you use a fighting art rather than a knowledge. But you can see it says her tenant is adrenaline. So, interesting. Maybe if you're not using because Luck said you use your Arc survivors even if you're not using Arc survivors. So have to see how that works. Here is Aeneas. Her image you can see here. Let me just scroll over a little bit. She's got culling cuisine, which is interesting. I don't know. This is innovation. You can see she gains a bunch of stuff. She's got, I don't know what that card is behind there. It doesn't look like a fighting art. It's something, a settlement event. I don't know what that card is with the full black. A disorder, maybe? Maybe it's a disorder. Can't really tell. I don't know why it's not inside of the thing. That's probably just because maybe they opened it up, took it out, and did stuff, and then took these pictures. But I can't tell if that's a disorder. I don't know exactly what that black card is behind the cards in all the pack. Can't see her knowledges and stuff. I'm assuming she's exactly the same, has a fighting art and all that stuff. You can see this is the boy in the woods. The wolves, I think, or is it woods? Might be the boy in the wolves. Can't exactly read all of this, but you can see her thing is like adrenaline junkie, I think is what it says for her. It's like a fighting art or a disorder, adrenaline junkie. Maybe that's what that is. Maybe I think that's what it says. Can't read it 100%. She also interacts with survival of the fittest. So really interesting for Aeneas here. Let's go to the final one down here. We got Candy and Cola. Let's go to Candy and Cola's. Here's Candy and Cola's image. This is another huge stack of cards. Look at the amount of gear that is here. She has got tons and tons of cards in this little pack thing here. Same thing for her. You can see how it works here. She's got like soda fountain. You can see for her level 2, you gain it. It says there that's an innovation. Interacts with mental mori. Can't see all of this stuff, but Candy gains the soda vendor ability, and then you may do stuff. So it looks like these are much more interactive wanderers that you'll probably want to be using a lot more than with Luck. Luck was pretty interactive, but not super interactive. Don't know what years these show up or anything, so very cool. Get to see these very soon. So the bottom of her thing here is interesting. If you look where it's like there's fighting art, but then it says like gain +1 some kind of something, and then it looks like it says evasion, or I mean maybe it says disposition with a heart, +1 heart disposition, but it looks like +1 then an icon evasion. Cool, whatever. I don't know. I'm really excited for Candy and Cola. Really excited for all the Wanderers, pretty much. Gatherism. This box is huge and looks amazing. Philosophy of Death Gatherism. You can see she's got cards here. A bunch of terrain cards are behind my image here, but there's just a bunch of terrain cards and like perishable things. So we have the book. Can't read all of this, but we do know this is a tier 2 philosophy. Gatherism, Flowers of the World, I think is what it says. So you can see here, Gatherism, you can see it's got the 3 terrain. We've seen these before. And then it looks like a whole bunch of cards. Looks like some are bridge size, some are knowledge size. So that means there's going to be the terrain cards, obviously. Maybe some disorders. Maybe there's fighting arts in there. Interesting thing about this is though it's called Philosophies of Death. Well, I mean, obviously because it's philosophy, but I was hoping there might be some way to use Gatherism without being a philosophy. Not without being a philosophy, but having some ways of getting access to these terrains and strange resources without using Ark Survivors specifically, because there's a lot of lore and stuff for Gatherism, right? Makes the world feel more alive, more vibrant. Because the flowers are all over the place and all this terrain, all this cool stuff. Be neat if there was fighting arts included just as well. Just be like, because expansions they're made to work with the core game, right? Frog Dog and stuff. But then Frog Dog and Black Knight include knowledges and scout stuff just in case you're using Gambler's Chest. It'd be nice if this Gatherism had everything to do to make it a philosophy. It was a philosophy, and then also, hey, here's like a fighting art like Strategist, where Strategist allows you to add a stone face or a is a canthus plant? No, tall grass. I forget what it's a toppled pillar. It's a stone face or a toppled pillar. It'd be neat if this included like a fighting art that said, here you include this into your deck if you're using Gatherism, and then it's like it's something that lets you add maybe these terrain, add on arrival or something. That'd be neat. I don't know if we're going to get that. I hope we do. That'd be great. So now we get to the point of rebuilding the timeline. Remastered Wave 1, Fulfillment, July or August. Pariah expansion, Red Witch expansion, False Messengers, Wanderer Arneas, Goth, Death Drifter, Candy and Cola, Philosophy Death Gatherism. Percival's not mentioned here. Percival is then in Remastered Wave 2. Estimated Q4 2025, Q1 2026. Campaigns of Death, Promos of Death, Hypercomb or Honeycomb Weaver plus Titan Bead. They're 2 separate expansions, but Kickstarter backers will get them as one because they paid for them as one. Dead Armor, then Percival, which, I don't know, maybe she was not part of Wave 1. Philosophies of Death Heliocentrism, Philosophies of Death Starbound, and then may opt to hold Screaming God expansion for this wave. I don't know what that means. I guess that means that Screaming God... I don't know what that means. I guess it means that they're going to do another production wave after this one, and then get Screaming God printed, but another production wave before Campaigns of Death? Otherwise, Screaming God's not being in production right now, right? That's the thing. That's what they said. It's not in production right now. It's delayed. So We'll see at the end here. I'll come back to this. I'll come back to the Streaming God thing. Then Remastered Wave 3, Quarter 2, 2026, Inverted Mountain Campaign, Nightmare Random Expansion, Griffin Expansion, Oblivion and Mosquito Expansion, First Hero Expansion, plus the Train set. Wave 4, Silver City, Abyssal Woods, Pathfinders of Debt, which is now a vignette. Wave 5, estimated Quarter 3, 2027, Ivory Dragon Expansion, Vignettes of Death, Super Survivors. Sure, look, whatever. Whatever. The timelines are whatever. Like I said, this timeline, the timeline that was given to us last February, this timeline's completely, everything's delayed. Literally almost everything from that last timeline a year ago is delayed here. So, and then the timeline that was given to us when Gambler's Chest shipped, everything is delayed from there. The Black Friday update from 2023, everything has since still been delayed from there. So, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. None of this other stuff matters to me. It will get printed when it's printed. Poots acknowledges that the dev speed is what it is. All this other I don't care about any of these other dates. Whether they're true or not, who cares? It will get here when it gets here. So I'm not going to cover them as if they're correct. Because who cares? Any idea when we can see the second Legendary Card Pack? Yes, Legendary Card Pack 2 has had most of its contents finalized, though we are still waiting to make sure, or to make some final decisions before beginning production. It will not be part of the next shipping wave, though we have had the card pack available, though we will have the card pack available online in our web store. So I guess that's going to be printed at the same time as Screaming God. So it's an ETA in Wave 4. He said he covered it. Would the tariffs affect the cost of something already purchased? I don't want to read all this stuff. It's just tariffs. It is what it is. Any chance naked armor chests? If you want to see naked armor bundles from stuff from the Gambler's Chest, I guess post in the Kickstarter comments so they can gauge community wants. So here's what it is. This is the end of the update here. All the stuff in the store goes above that, but the KDS update today adds our first part of social features, making it easier to join people's games and adding some much requested moderation features. This is great. I'm glad that got added. Lastly, a big thank you to everyone for joining us on this journey turned Odyssey. Tomorrow I'll return to Campaigns of Death. Our print deadline is August. So, Screaming God is not in production right now, right? It says it right here. It's not in production yet. Maybe I'm misreading. Maybe it says it is. I'm reading it as it's not. It says Screaming God is delayed. I'm delaying the Screaming God expansion. It's not ready yet. So that means it's not in production. As of writing this, it's not ready yet. It's not being production. It's going back and forth on the boss fight and plastic production, right? So if your deadline for COD is August, as you just said, got to get it out to print in August. When are you printing Screaming God? I guess it's printing in June. I mean, you're saying it's before the next wave. So, and then you might delay it to print with that wave. I just think it's coming with the next wave. I don't think we're getting it earlier. Who knows? So if this stuff is done and production gets out the door in May, and then you're sending stuff to print for August for COD, it seems like you're probably sending when are you working on Screaming God? When is that getting finalized? When is that getting pushed out? Who knows, right? Who knows? Because it's clearly not going to make this wave. Maybe it will be part of the next wave. I don't know when Screaming God's coming. It's coming when it's coming. I suspect we'll be able to maybe Black Friday or something. Who knows? But let's talk about the other stuff that was added. We have this website is insane. Monster Nodes. This is on the main website. You can see it. It was linked in the newsletter of the shop. But Kingdom of Death Monster is a game with countless emergent possibilities. Monster Nodes provide a guide to adding new expansions to your game, curating a unique mix of changes to the story of your settlement each time you start a fresh campaign. So this talks about Monster Nodes. We see Monster Nodes. Here they're just explained core game nodes, all this stuff. Monster Nodes, explaining what the core game is, explaining expansion monsters. Once you have experienced People of the Lantern campaign, customize your play experience. Expansion quarries, Nemesis monsters can be incorporated in your campaign by the following. As a rule of thumb, when you add an expansion, remove any monster of the same node from the settlement's timeline and quarry list. Erase its corresponding events, showdowns, and encounters. So here it lists nodes and monsters. I mentioned to them that Frog Dog's not our node 1, so it will be added there. But you can see Frog Dog is a node 1 quarry. It should be there. It's got all the other ones here. It's got the ones that are included in Gambler's Chest. All these links then go to the whatever expansion they're a part of. And these are all the nodes laid out. But if we keep scrolling down, you can see other campaigns. It talks about Sun, all of them. Here they are, what they are for Sun. For People of the Stars, I thought Butcher is in People of the Stars, not Kingsman. So that's interesting. I didn't think Kingsman was in that. I thought Butcher and the Hand were. No Kingsman. But maybe I'm wrong for People of the Stars. But anyway, adding expansions using nodes. Modifying Slenderman, Manhunter, and Lion Knight for nodes. There's rules now. Hooray! We know how to do it. So if you're watching our stream, Jay and I usually use Manhunter to replace Butcher completely. Look at, there's rules. Oh, this is amazing. This should have been in the update. This is amazing. Remove the Nemesis Node 1 Butcher or any other Nemesis Node 1 monster in your campaign from the settlement's timeline. Nemesis Encounter Butcher. Add Lantern Year 5 story event Hanged Man for campaigns currently beyond Lantern Year 5. Added to the next Lantern Year on the timeline. Change adding Manhunter to the settlement's timeline to. It removes the special showdown. So this means the Lantern Year 5 one that starts immediately after Hangman, the level 1 version, that still is a special showdown, and you use it as special showdown rules go for 1.6, 1.5, 1.6. You still have your settlement phase, you do everything, and then you go into special showdown, and then you go back like it shows, and then you start the settlement phase again. So Lantern Year 5 with Hangman is the level 1 version of Manhunter. And then you get Lantern Year 10. It just changes it to a Nemesis level 2. Lantern Year 16, it's just a Nemesis Showdown level 3. Lantern Year 22, Nemesis Showdown Manhunter level 4. It directly goes... So Lantern Year 16, that's direct Butcher level 2. And Lantern Year 22, I think, is direct Butcher level 3. So it just fully replaces. This is so cool. So this is great. If everybody wants to go here, this is on the official site. You can get to it. It's linked in the newsletter. I think it will eventually be under the rules tab, hopefully, for nodes. I didn't see it anywhere, but there's that. This is cool. This is super great. There's one more thing that happened, too. There was I think a while back, there was another update that Ghost Patch Dead Again. Dead Again is one of the abilities from Deadism philosophy that was really busted. It ghost patched it to... make it so you no longer get your death principle, right? And I showed that. There was another ghost patch on the living glossary. This is a huge one. Let me open up that. So here it is. The ethereal ability on currently 2 gear. It's on Corsair Coat and on Durandal sword from like Oktoberfest Aya, and then I think it was like Swashbuckler White Box. They're old. Ethereal. This was really hard to use. It's been updated. This is a huge buff to Ethereal. A gear special ability. The gear is inextricably linked to saviors. When the settlement has no savior, archive this gear. That's it. Ethereal used to be you need to be insane and depart with a savior in order to wear or activate the gear. So if you weren't insane and there wasn't a savior with you, you couldn't use it. And then if there were no saviors at all in the settlement, you had to archive it. So you had to depart with a savior, and then you had to be insane to even wear or activate it. So it was like a sentient plus. It was like really gated and hard to use. So Ethereal, this got updated. We'll talk about it this is the beta. The new beta talks about the new, well, no, because it's a beta, it probably won't even mention Ethereal because I don't think betas come with Living Glossary insert. Or maybe they do. Yeah, they do actually. But this is cool. Really cool. I really like it. The Living Glossary was also updated to have Frog Dog and Black Knight stuff in there. All those things are now there. Like, here, I'll give you an example. 1 second. So here's an example. Extra long arms. That's a frog dog thing. Your fist and tooth has reach too. So there's an example of it. Really cool to have the living glossary updated to include all the frog dog or black knight stuff. It's great. This is really good. So this update had a lot of stuff, lots to cover. This wasn't just a quick update. Lots of stuff to talk about, lots of stuff to cover. It was quite a long update. It is what it is with the delays. It is what it is with the timeline. We'll see what happens. But in general, Ethereal got updated. That's great. That's really, really great. We're getting Gatherism. That's really great. Again, I had already expected that. The Screaming God delay, whatever it is, what it is. But we know now, at least, we're supposed to be getting it at Gen Con for the rest of that wave, which will be great. I hope to get it by Gen Con. There'd be some stuff I'd want to talk about. Not having Screaming God by Gen Con, that kind of sucks for me. Because I'm sure I would want to talk to Poots about a bunch of the lore from that with Parasite Queen. Maybe it's my fault it got delayed. Because knows I'm going to Gen Con and would want to talk about Parasite Queen. It is what it is. I think we take this update in strides with the timeline. It's great we got it. Great it came. That's great. I'll see everyone in the next video.